Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the National Seminar on Language and Literature, Senabatra, Department of Language and Arts, FKIP, Sriwijaya University. I, Debbie Dwi Juliani, will guide this first parallel session. Before the presenters present their thoughts, Let me introduce a brief profile of the four presenters. The first presenters are Ms. Gayarani Maretika Noto from Singapore Indonesian School Palembang, Mr. Sofendi, Mrs. Rita Indrawati from Universitas Sriwijaya, with the title of presentation, Climate Change Exposition Reading Materials for Senior High School Textbook Students Need Analysis. The second presenter is Mr. Arik Arianto from Universitas Sriwijaya, with the title of presentation, Self-Regulated Online Learning During Pandemic COVID-19 of Postgraduate Student. The third presentation is Ms. Hani Hanafi Murwani Ujihanti from Politeknik Negeri Sriwijaya, with the title of presentation, Portrait of Employing Social Media as English Learning Assistants of Business Administration Students Before and During COVID-19 Pandemic. And the fourth presenter is Ms. Aprilia Sari Rahayu from Universitas Sriwijaya. The title of presentation is Teachers' Strategy in Teaching Speaking During COVID-19 Pandemic. All right, that was a brief profile of our four speakers in this parallel one session. Each presenter will present the results of their thoughts for 10 minutes, followed by a question and answer session for 5 minutes. I hope that all the participants can be active in asking questions in the question and answer session after the material delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, you can submit them directly in our chat room in the format of name underscore origin underscore question, and submit it when the presenter delivers his or her paper. All right, I'll invite the first presenter, Ms. Gayarani Maretika Noto. To Ms. Noto, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Before that, let me share screen first for my PPT. But would you mind to put me as a co-host so I can share my screen?
Okay, all right. All participants and Ms. Noto, please wait a moment. There's a problem, a little problem. Please, Miss, try again.
Okay.
Can you?
Yes, now I can share my screen.
Zoom floor is yours.
Okay. Does my PPT appear? Yes, Miss Debbie, does my PPT appear? Yes. Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Gayireni Martikanoto, and today I am going to present my presentation with the title Climate Change Expositions Reading Material for Senior High School Textbook Students Need Analysis. In this study, I'm not alone. I have two advisors that really support, guide, and help me. Thank you so much for Professor Sofendi, MA, PhD, and also Dr. Rita Indrawati, MPD. And then here are the content of my presentation. The first is introductions, and then method. The third one is result and discussions, and the last one is conclusion. Talking about introductions, the to focus to the students' need. It is the same line with Brown 2009. Analysis can identify the problem that the students are facing and also the knowledge of the skills that they are require and or the teaching method that the teaching method that should be used. And also the students need analysis in these topics are the students the lack of knowledge about the climate change materials, and also there is a limited existing English reading materials which are integrating based on the students' need. And then introduction about the climate change. Climate change education by race, age, and skill development. Education is an essential component and a catalyst for responding to the global climate change. In article number 6 of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, encourage parties to promote, develop, and also implement education, training, and public awareness programs on the climate change and itself. Education for Sustainable Development, or ESD, aims to promote the knowledge, skill, attitude, and values necessary to shape a sustainable future. And also why the researchers choose exposition text as the text, because exposition text is one of the texts that the senior high school students learn, which means that it's suitable with the curriculum that the government provided. And then the use of climate change-based material is highly recommended by UNESCO. Like I mentioned before, the number of climate change-based materials is still limited in Indonesia. Even many schools still lack English textbook containing climate change materials. And then for the method, the data are analyzed both quantitatively and qualitatively. Qualitative method is used to assess the data obtained from the interview. The data are obtained through questionnaires and also semi-structured interview. The questionnaires is given by the students, and also the semi-structured interview is conducted with the. Here, the participants of this study involved 11 grade students, English and content teachers at the senior high schools, Sriwijaya Negara Palembang, and also the sample are 34 11th grade students in senior high schools or SMA Sriwijaya Negara Palembang and one English teachers. The researchers already did the questionnaires and also interview, so we can see the result and the discussions. There are four factors here. The first is target situation analysis or TSA. The second one is deficiency analysis, and the third one is present situation analysis or PSA, and the fourth one is strategy analysis. In this part, in the result and discussions, the data got from the students' view related to the students' need. So the data present in this paper are the highest percentage of the students' view of each question in the questionnaire. Let me discuss one by one. The first one is about the target situation analysis or TSA. This part is concerned about the students' necessities and also general intention and expectation in learning English. We can see from this table, the main reason for the learning English is to help the students to communicate with other peoples is around 41.2%, and also the students' expectation is to communicate using English in oral communication in the future workplace. It's the percentage is 76.5% and then 67.6%. The language used for the students' careers, the students can do oral communication with the colleges or the tourists, and then 63.2%. The English proficiency level for the students' careers is advanced. And then the second part is the efficiency analysis. In this part, it considers the students' current wants and also need and their target situation, deficiency or lack. We can see from this table here, in the table 2, the students desire the topic is climate change. For their learning reading, the percentage is 66.2%, and also in 66.2%, the student desire to put for the reading is the authentic materials about the climate change, and then in a 61.8%, which were related to the general knowledge of the student study program for reading is important, and then integrating topics which were related to climate change for reading is important, and the percentage is 82.4%. And then for the aspect of climate change needed to be integrated to the English reading materials, we can see on this figure, the figure number 2. Most of the students choose environment as 76.5% as the topic, and then the students also choose the topic is Earth in 55.9%, and then the aspect of climate change needed is Earth. It's around 61.8%, and the topic about climate change itself is around 50%, and then temperature 39.7%, and the last, the aspect of climate change needed is greenhouse effect. It's around 19.1%. So talk about the next part is present situation analysis or PSA. In this part, focus on present studies proficiency in English and also the material learned and the climate change knowledge of the students. We can see from this figure, based on the students' view on their knowledge about the climate change, there are several things that the students think that they can do and preserve and also develop the climate change. We can see from the color blue here, increasing knowledge and understand the climate change. The percentage is 48.5%, and also in the red color with the percentage 33.8%. This one is to applying how to prevent climate change in everyday life. And then for the yellow one here with the percentage 14.7% is taking an active role preventing climate change. And the last one is promoting prevent climate change, the region or abroad with the color green. Here, from the data,
Recording in
shows
progress.
that the students had the intention to know more and preserve their climate change, and hence developing climate change-based exposition reading texts or reading materials can be a way to enlarge their knowledge as well as to encourage their awareness of the existence of climate change, and also it can help them to culturally literate. And then the fourth one is about strategy analysis. In this, yes.
You only have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in this part, we can see that from this figure, the students' preference in learning reading here, the students prefer to comprehend the text by translating in 38.2% and also read and answering questions related to the text individually in 19.1%, and students also prefer to read aloud and correct pronunciation and intonation and 13.2%. And the last one is student prefer to analyze new vocabulary based on the context in 11.8%. So from this topic, the English reading materials, such as for the senior high school students, should support their needs in learning English. And one of them by integrating the climate change reading materials for the students. Now we move to the conclusion here. We can conclude that it is suggested to develop supplementary exposition reading materials by integrating climate change, which matches with the students' English proficiency and support the students' need. And the main reason for integrating climate change materials into educational materials are to enhance the knowledge of the students. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention, and go back to moderator.
All right, thank you, Miss Nota. To all participants, we have a question for Miss Nota. Please, okay, I see a question from Nuria Farahdina from Universitas Sriwijaya. The question is, could you explain more what's the goal of your research? Because I couldn't understand it so clear. Okay. So, Miss Nota, please.
Thank you for the question, Miss Nuria Farahdina. What is the goal of this research? The goal of this research is to describe the perspective of the students and also the perspective of the teachers on the students' need in English reading materials, as the result is the climate change. And also to development the supplementary exposition reading texts that match the students' English proficiency is necessary. So they will support the teachers to teach students in the content area. I think that's all. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Please do.
Irene? Thank you, moderator. So I think it is a good idea for Irene to do the research on the development one. So here we talk about climate change because you know that UNESCO asks every levels of education to teach climate change. Therefore, Irene through her research want to know whether the students there really need the material or not. Therefore, today she presents her findings, and you know that the findings, the students really want to get the materials about climate change in terms of descriptive text. Is it right, Gairani? Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bu.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question, there's a question from Fuji Octaviani. The question is, based on your explanation, what kind of students' difficulties that you found related to this study? Okay, please, Miss.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Based on the questionnaire, there are some difficulties that the students face, such as the students' English proficiency is still a beginner level. So the students still have difficulties in reading, for example, to comprehend the main idea or comprehend the certain words, and also to make a conclusion related to the cause or effect based on the text. And also, like I have mentioned before, the students still lack knowledge about the climate change materials, and the number of climate change material is still limited in Indonesia. Even many schools still lack English textbook containing climate change materials. I think that's all. Thank you.
Can I add?
Sure.
Well, good question from Fuji Octaviani. Yes, you know that in our schools there are many texts about climate change. However, the climate change texts were very difficult to the students' level. Therefore, through this research, Gayaredi under my advisory and Pak Sapendi would like to do a research to develop, meaning that from a very difficult text, it is developed into the easy one, yeah, by paraphrasing, by adapting, and so on and so forth. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer from Miss Gaya Reni Maritikantokto and Mrs. Rita Indrawati. I think that's enough. Well, a very interesting presentation and question and answer session from Miss Gaya Reni Maritikantokto and Mrs. Rita Indrawati. And then, ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mrs. Gaya Reni Maritikantokto. Hopefully the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. My thanks to Ms. Gaya Reni Maritikantokto. Okay. Next let's welcome the second presenter, Mr. Arik Erianto from Universitas Sriwijaya. Sorry, Mr. Arik. Okay. However, I would like to remind all the participants, you can be active to ask questions in the question and answer session after the material delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, you can submit it on our chat room. All right. To Mr. Arik Arianto, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Is it appear? Okay, thank you. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For Bu Rita, as a lecturer and also my beloved friend and also the participant too. Okay, today I would like to tell you about my article. It's about, let me start show. Yeah. Okay, is it appear? Okay, the title is Self-Regulated Online Learning During Pandemic COVID-19 of Postgraduate Students. Here is the highlights. The first is the purpose of this article. Second, introduction, self-regulated learning, online learning, self-regulated in online learning, self-regulated learning of postgraduate students, and the last is conclusion. The first is the purpose of this article. The first is analyzing the role of self-regulated learning during pandemic era COVID-19. And the second, how do postgraduate students self-regulated online learning? In the second purpose here, the description of postgraduate student, how to cope the problem when during online learning by implementing self-regulation. Okay, next, introduction. We know that about COVID-19 pandemic, which has become a global pandemic, especially in educational sectors. So, to suppress the spread of COVID-19, the Indonesian government has issued a firm call for people to stay at home, or for meanwhile maybe. This definitely aspect for people's life, including the educational sector. For example, the student have to study from home, and the learning activities are conducted via online learning. So, why online learning? Before that, I will tell you about what is online learning. Online learning is a learning that is done electronically using computer-based media and network. Online learning is also known as electric learning, e-learning, online learning, internet-enabled learning, virtual learning, or web-based learning. The online learning method is considered close to current generation of students who are known to be very integrated with technology products. This is from digitalization in the world of education that has many benefits. Learning does not only access information, but also guide students to achieve specific learning outcomes. According to Zawaki, Richard, and Naidu in 2016, stress that in fact there has never been a better time to be in the field of open, flexible, distant, and online education than now. COVID-19 impact the conventional learning method of academic institutions across the world. The administration of schools, college, and university opt for online learning, online class as an alternative way to resume education during this pandemic. So that's why students should be able to take advantage of existing situation with conductive learning activities at home and contribute to a more progressive learning process. So to achieve these goals, students must have their own strategies to support them. Therefore, the role of self-regulation of learning is very important for their student, for us too. Okay, next, what is self-regulated learning? There are three experts about so many experts about steps about what is self-regulated learning. The first is according to Zimmerman, 1966 and 1969. In general, students can be described as self-regulated to the degree that they are metacognitively, motivationally, and behaviorally active participant in their own learning process. And the second, self-regulated learning is since a mechanism to help expand achievement difference among students and as mean to improve achievement, according to Sang in 2005, page 85. And the last, self-regulated learning, SRL, self-regulation in learning can be understood as the process of a student activating his own thought, feeling, and behavior systematical aimed at learning purpose, according to Lidiawati 2014. So I conclude that self-regulated learning is a process in which individuals who learn actively as regulators of their own learning process, starting from planning, monitoring, controlling, and evaluating themselves systematically to achieve learning goals using various cognitive, motivational, and behavioral strategies to achieve good learning. What they want. There are examples of self-regulated learning. Is that the first is students read learning materials before the online class. It is so that in online learning, during online learning, the class runs smoothly. So students there is no problem during online learning, and quickly goes to sleep before the online class in the morning, so that student is not sleepy during online learning in the morning. Okay, next about self-regulated in all learning, it is talking about relationship between self-regulated and online learning. Self-regulated constitutes an essential factor for improvement and academic success in on-site, according to Serrano et al. 2007, and online environment, according to Teresa et al. 2015, Beridi and Martinez 2017. Okay, the online learning environment as indicated in the systematic review, according Wang et al. 2019, imply a high autonomous component and one of self-management of students to make their own decision about what materials review, when or how much to study, and what strategies to modify for the achievement of their academic goals. Likewise, according to Aganti 2020, more significant effort is necessary to maintain attention and focus during online activities. Therefore, self-regulation of learning is considered a fundamental process that allows students to adapt the context, in this case to online learning, allowing to develop planning, prevision, and monitoring activities to preserve when they face the difficulties in the achievement of their academic goals. So that's why they need self-regulation learning to manage themselves during online learning. Okay, next slide. It's about self-regulated learning of postgraduate student. According to Zimmerman, 2008, university or postgraduate students must therefore develop second-order learning capabilities and active their cognitive, motivational, and effective learning strategies to self-regulate their learning, according to Zimmerman 2008.
Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. You have only 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for remind. The higher or the level of education, it means the high level task given, such as learning materials and more complex question and assignment for postgraduate students. So it means that we have to regulate ourselves to face the responsibility about the assignment, about the examination, about learning materials. According to Sulaiman, Gwandari, and Warini 2017, prove that quality of applying self-regulation in learning has a relationship with getting a student's grade point average or GPA. In this study, it was found that the better students' ability in implementing self-regulated learning, the higher GPA scores obtained by students. In other words, students who implementing SRL got high GPA than students who do not implementing SRL. Okay, the last is the conclusion. The role of self-regulated learning in online learning during pandemic COVID-19 is individual. It sets about every personal opportunity to learn optimally in order to achieve the goals to be achieved. So learning refers to actively and flexibility applying metacognitive learning strategies, inspiring learning motivation, and making active self-monitoring, self-feedback, and self-regulation of their learning behavior based on goal set and advanced and performance self-examination and self-evaluation. This result allow for the identification for important educational implication from these findings. Consider it important that lecturers help the students understand the relevance of SRL for better management of the uncertain circumstance beyond their control, which they are currently experiencing due to the pandemic. Also important to consider the reality of each student and the use of student-focused virtual teaching and learning models that promote independent learning and self-regulation in a warm and interactive environment. Today, more than ever, university and lecturers must create in supporting the students' education process correctly to achieve the desired learning. So it means that lecturers and students must collaborate learning. Okay, that's all.
Right, a very interesting presentation has been delivered by Mr. Arik Arianto. It's time for us to the question and answer session. I see a question from Ms. Gayarani. The question is, it's current and interesting topic. Is self-regulated learning only used during a pandemic or can it be used after a pandemic? Please, Mr. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is self-regulated learning only used during a pandemic, or can be it used for after pandemic? I think both. You can use SIL during the pandemic or after the pandemic. So the difference is the situation. When the pandemic is more complicated, or there are activities that we don't usually do. For example, we usually study face-to-face, but now we learn online. So we have to manage ourselves during online learning this mode. How do you deal with this problem when online learning? How do you deal with this problem when offline learning? There are different solutions, and also there are different situations. I think that's all.
Okay, and the next question comes from Ahmad Hafiz Pratama from Sriwijaya University. The question is there a term of self-directed learning? Is it different from what you have explained? And is there any self-regulated differentiation between undergraduates and postgraduate students?
Okay, thank you so much for Pak Hafiz. It is about it is about different directed and regulate. The first is regulate, self-regulated learning. This regulate students make a regularization first to ways to achieve something they want, or in other words, they set learning goals, monitor their goals, regulate their cognition, motivation, and behavior to achieve the goals that have been set. It means that they have regulate before do something. So while it's direct self-directed learning, students have the freedom to create the goals and ways to achieve them. So it means that there is no regulate in self-directed learning, and there is a differentiation between undergraduates and postgraduate students. I think it's same, but the difference is the level. In undergraduate, it is, I think, the level is still low, but then it's lower than postgraduate. I think that is.
Yeah. Thank you for the answers, Mr. Arik.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mr. Arik Arianto. Hopefully, the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. My thanks to Mr. Arik.
Thank you.
Next, let's welcome our third presenter, Miss Ani Hanafi. Dear Miss Ani, the Zoom for is yours. It is
right. Yes.
Mrs. Mulwani. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mulwani Ujihanti from Polytechnic Negeri Sriwijaya. Today, I want to present my thoughts about the portrait of employing social media as English learning assistant of business administration students before and during COVID-19 pandemic. And then this research focuses on, can I display the PowerPoint?
Yes. You can just share screen.
Yeah, okay. Can you see the the PowerPoint, the display?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. This is the title, Portrait of Employing Social Media as English Learning Assistance of Business Administration Students before and during COVID-19 pandemic. Before COVID-19 pandemic, the learning process is class formation, face-to-face. And then after, during COVID-19 pandemic, it is online. The learning process is done online format, online learning. But those two formats is assisted by YouTube as a social media for the students to learn. And then this research focuses on the effectiveness of using social media in nurturing English proficiency before and during COVID-19 pandemic. Since internet connection invention,
Sorry. Could you please make the presentation slideshow? Slideshow the presentation.
This is the slideshow. Can you see the display?
It's small.
Pardon?
It's small. Yeah.
Does it work?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay.
Sorry.
Right. Should I start from the beginning? All right.
I think you can just continue.
Okay. Right. So since the internet connection invention, learning implementation has been familiar with making use of social media as learning support. And this pandemic, in this case, the social media we use is YouTube for the students to facilitate learning. And then this pandemic causes the fact that face-to-face learning should be shifted to online learning, including learning of English. Students rely more on internet connection for supporting learning, as the fact of internet connection has been part of daily life, daily activities. And there are 71 countries in 5 continents utilize educational technology for all sorts of to provide remote learning opportunities for students. And in Asia and Pacific region, there are 34 countries using learning platform for continuing learning process during COVID-19 pandemic. And for Indonesia itself, Indonesia launches 6 educational platform, and on the other hand, people also use social media such as YouTube to facilitate learning. And this situation triggers researchers' reaction to reveal the field of learning practice during pandemic situation. Based on the previous reports, no one published the use of social media for enhancing English proficiency, listening, and reading comprehension. So this paper exposes effectiveness level of using social media in the area of English proficiency before and during COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let's go to the next. This is the picture of of the English proficiency. The sample of this research is 501 data, and then it is analyzed using Excel description statistic program, and the focus on scores, mean scores. It means this is the average scores, and then mode scores. It is the frequent scores that appear in the data, and then range score. Range scores mean the difference between the highest score and the lowest score. Before pandemic period, students of business administration study program have already done mixed learning using social media platform, YouTube, and conventional face-to-face learning. Data collection was done by implementing documentation data collection. It was data of students' TOEIC test scores issued by ETC every year. There were 501 data comprises of two groups, before and during COVID-19 pandemic. The first group was data before pandemic. It is data from 2018 and data from 2019. And then the second groups, it is data from 2020 and 2021. These two data are data during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this data will be presented to describe English proficiency, listening capabilities, and reading competence. English proficiency both before and during pandemic time will also be explained using CEFR in order to clarify the capability the students might have in their daily lives. Okay, the purpose one of this research is outlining social media utilization as English learning aid before and during pandemic. Now look at this bar. Bar chart 1 illustrates the portrait of English proficiency in the year of 2018 and 2019, when face-to-face learning was conducted. Whereas 2020 and 2021, it is not so clear. I will read here. 2020 and 2021, it is the data from during the COVID-19. It can be seen then that the number of average score, look at here, average score, it is from 401 in 2018 to 429 in 2019 before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, it fell to 391 and slightly raised to 398 in 2021. Then it goes to mode. This is the scores, the frequent score. That shows most students were in elementary level in 2018 the score of 350 here, and increased to intermediate level to 485, but drastically fell down to novice here 235, and it rise again in the second year of pandemic to 355. It means it is elementary level in the second year of pandemic period. The differences between high level and low level, this is range here. 545 in 2018 and goes down to 530 in 2019, and it is to 701 in 2020 and 640 in 2041. Overall, it can be seen that the decline of students' English proficiency during 2 years pandemic period showed by the rise of the gap between high and low level students here in a range row. Okay, and then now the second purpose is describing the result of making use of social media as listening practice assistance before and during pandemic time. Here in this table, the students' listening competence at which listening system adopted social media over 4 years period from 2018 to 2021. And then the figure provides scores of data. The trend over time illustrates that listening competence is in the area of intermediate level, all over 4-year period, 2 years before and 2 years during COVID-19 pandemic.
Sorry, ma'am. You have
Right.
only 1 minute left, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So I get confused. So it shows that there is a decline also in scores of listening, but it is not so much when we compare to reading score. The reading score is here. It is what is striking in reading score graph is steady decline of the number students reading competence score. And then most students also perform decline attainment in reading proficiency. And then the score difference between high and low level student demonstrates fluctuation pattern, but still in area of big scores point. In conclusion, the use of media as learning support is more beneficial when it is done in face-to-face class. And during online class, it shows the declining trend of student English proficiency, especially in reading competence. On the other hand, social media, YouTube, is a good learning assistance for high proficiency level students, but a great challenge for low proficiency students. I think this is the conclusion of the study. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Murwani. A very interesting presentation. It's time for us to do a question and answer session. In the chat room, there's a question from Ms. Desira Masari. The question is, based on the results of your research, which one is a more effective learning process using social media with face-to-face learning or online learning? And please mention the challenge that you face in collecting the data.
All right. Which one is more effective? Learning face-to-face class and online learning class. The more effective, based on the study, is a face-to-face class. It is better than online class. And then, what was the second question? The challenge of collecting data. I think in data collection, I'm fortunate, I'm lucky. I didn't have any difficulty because in my institution, there are a lot of data of students' English proficiency sent by ETS. Polytechnic always does the test for all the students every year. So data collection is not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Murwani. Ladies and gentlemen, speakers and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mrs. Murwani Ujihanti. My thanks to Mrs. Ujihanti. Now, let's welcome the fourth presenter, Ms. Aprilia Sari Rahayu from Universitas Sriwijaya. To Ms. Rahayu, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you. Wait a minute, I will share screen first. Can move to Kak Gaya will share screen maybe.
Okay, wait a minute. Can you stop sharing
Yeah,
screen,
please.
please? Okay, does it appear?
Yeah. Thank you, Kak Gaya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Aprilia Sari Rahayu. Today, I want to show you about my PowerPoint. The title is Teacher Strategy in Teaching Speaking During COVID-19 Pandemic. Next slide, please. Okay, in this slide, have first introduction, and the second definition of speaking, and the third teacher strategy in speaking learning process. I'm so sorry. Teacher strategy, definition of speaking, teacher strategy in speaking learning process, and the last is type of speaking used for teaching speaking skills during COVID-19 pandemic. Next. Okay, in introduction, according to Al-Zamil 2021, of the 4 skills in English, reading, writing, listening, and speaking, mastering speaking is a priority for most L2 learners. Like according to Katarina Mulyana 2020, as expert staff of the Minister of Education and Cultures of Indonesia. Due to the pandemic of COVID-19, social distancing for education is the best strategy against the spread of the virus. According to Suarez 2021, distance education language teaching strategies are different from strategies used to face-to-face teaching. The learning process must be carried out at home by utilizing online tools like Zoom, Google Meet, WhatsApp, and etc. The key to achieving the success of the teaching process is the teachers must arrange new strategies that is relevant to learning needs and use a variety of strategies for teaching during this online learning. According to Go and Zhang 2020, teachers should be able to develop appropriate methods in the learning process, understand the needs of students, and be able to master ICT during this time. Based on the regulations from the Minister of Education and Culture of Indonesia on the 2013 curriculums, students must understand and speaking well because speaking is an important skill in order to be able to communicate in English well. According to Perdana 2020, speaking skills is considered significant skills to be mastered by students in terms of communication needs. But speaking skills in English must be trained continuously so that they can be developed. They also can be exercised with friends, English teachers in the classroom, or English teachers in the course, etc. Next slide, please. Okay, definition of speaking. Speaking is an interaction between people who want to express themselves orally to tell each other something. For example, telling to a friends about their experience, chatting to their neighbor, and etc. Mintia 2021 stated that speaking skills are the ability to use the language in oral form to show what is in mind and can be defined as the skills which allow us to communicate effectively. The ability to speak English confidently and fluently is something which children will develop during their time at school and something that will help in their life. And according to Harmer, 2007, there are two differences in speaking English that is plain like speech and speaking that is unplain like conversation that takes place spontaneously. Next slide, please. Teacher strategy in speaking learning process. In this situation, the English teachers must have a new strategy in teaching and use a method that is in accordance with the learning objective. That is using the distance learning method. That following the direction from Nadine Makarim as a Minister of Education and Cultures of Indonesia, learning in the pandemic period is far different from face-to-face learning. The differences can be seen in instruction framework, which was usually done by face-to-face classes, but now it has been changed to fully distance education classes using the internet and technological tools like Google Meet, Google Classroom, WhatsApp, YouTube, and others applications. So this is a new method. Full challenges for English teachers, especially in teaching speaking material. Next slide, please. Type of strategies used for teaching speaking skills during COVID-19 pandemic. There are some of the strategies most used by teachers around the world during this time of pandemics include interaction between teachers and students that can be done through synchronous or synchronous approach, and teachers encouraging students to use their self-regulated skills, and also storytelling strategy and sing-a-song strategy. Okay, first, asynchronous learning is a more flexible approach with assignment, videos, and tests posted online in platform chosen by teachers, and the time is not specific. According to Muhammad 2021, asynchronous interaction will allow students to have more time for feedback and being evaluated. The students encouraged to practice their speaking skills by posting voice notes with questions and opinions in their group of discussions that will be evaluated by teachers and given feedback on their speaking environment. And the second is synchronous.
You only have 2 minutes left.
Okay. And the second is synchronous. The time of synchronous is already scheduled. Activities of synchronous, like video conferencing, that allows direct contact between students and teachers. Like according to HAS 2021, students can ask teachers questions and get immediate answers, while teachers can watch their students' work progress and ask live questions to test their knowledge. And the third, self-regulated. According to Zhang, Lu, Liang, and Tsai 2020, online learning requires students to be always ready to participate in a virtual task. They also have to be more responsible to monitor their process of learning. In other words, online students need to be develop their self-regulating skills like setting goals and self-evaluation. And the fourth, storytelling strategy. Storytelling strategy is a strategy where students are asked to tell stories about experience, aspiration, and hobbies. According to Rusandi 2021, storytelling is one of the effective strategies that the teachers use in the speaking learning process. And the last is sing a song. Sing a song can create a class that enjoy. Like according to Rusandi again, 2021, this strategy where students are asked to memorize a song and sing it. So some of these strategies are used by teachers because they are more effectively used when learning online. And next slide, please. Conclusion. Okay, this paper focused on the analysis of teacher strategy in teaching speaking during COVID-19 pandemic. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic made all learning and teaching process be carried out at home. So one of the most important skills to learn in English material is speaking. Online teacher strategy and face-to-face teacher strategy are very different. The differences is in offline learning, they learn by meeting face to face, while in online learning they are fully using technological tools. Thus, in this paper, the literature shows that the teachers use strategy to teach speaking, like asynchronous strategy and synchronous strategies are distance learning method. Learning materials have been provided online, but the differences is in this time. And then for the self-regulated is an active and productive process. In this learning process, students can create learning goals and regulate their behavior to achieve their goals. And a fourth strategy use like digital storytelling. That during the coronavirus pandemic made possible that the students expressing own experience or stories which more exciting and understandable. And then the last strategy most used was using music. Singing a song technique, singing a song teaching method is very popular with students because it's very fun and entertaining for them. So in this strategy where students are asked to memorize a song and sing it. Okay, that's enough for me. Next to moderator. Thank you.
A very interesting presentation delivered by Miss Aprilia Sarirahayu. It's time for us to do a question and answer session. I see a question in the chat box. Can you explain, please, how to teach storytelling in using asynchronous strategy? The question from Miss Mela Maresa.
Okay, thank you for the question. Storytelling can use asynchronous learning. So the students make make recording videos that are interesting. The expression, tones, and time which related their topic, and then the students submit in a learning and wait feedback from the teachers. That's my answer.
Thank you, Miss Aprilia Sarirahayu. I think it's enough for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Miss Aprilia Sarirahayu. Hopefully the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. My big thanks to Miss Aprilia Sarirahayu. Alright, Senabatra participants, that was the presentation of the 4 materials that have been delivered, as well as the question and answer. Thanks again to our presenter for the time and the presentation. Hopefully what has been conveyed by our speakers is useful for all of us. If I may conclude, it is very suggested to develop learning materials and strategies both during pandemic and after pandemic era. For example, using climate change exposition reading materials, using self-regulated online learning strategy, asynchronous and asynchronous strategy, and we could use the technology development in it. For example, using YouTube application. Once again, I would like to thank you for the 4 presenters, Miss Gayarani Maretikanoto, Mr. Arik Arianto, Mrs. Murwani Ujihanti, and Miss Aprilia Sarirahayu for your time. May you always be happy and healthy. I, as moderator, want to say sorry that I made mistakes in moderating this session. Let me close. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the National Seminar on Language and Literature, Senabatra, Department of Language and Art Education, FKIP Sriwijaya University. I am Shantika Putri, will guide this second parallel session. Before the presenter present their thought, let me introduce a brief profile of the four presenters. First presenter is Miss Nurfira Wardayani from Universitas Sriwijaya with the title of presentation University Student Self-Regulated Learning in Online Settings, Contribution and Challenge. And the second presenter is Miss Fairuz Putri Khalisa from Universitas Sriwijaya with the title of presentation The Voice of Novice Lecturer During the Initial Years of Teaching. And then the third presenter is Mr. Maldini Rajab Jr. and Mr. Juanda from Universitas Komputer Indonesia with the title of presentation Semiotic Analysis of Racism in the comic Captain America, Sam Wilson. And then the last presenter is Febi Mutia Andani from Universitas Sriwijaya with the title of presentation An Analysis of the Challenge in Teaching and Learning during COVID-19 pandemic. All right, that was a brief profile of our four speakers in this parallel second session. Each presenter will present the result of their thought for 10 minutes, followed by a question and answer session for 5 minutes. I hope that you can be active in asking questions in the question and answer session after the material delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, you can submit them directly in our chat room in the format of name underscore origin underscore question and submit it when the presenter delivers his or her paper. All right, I will invite the first presenter, Ms. Nurfira Wardayani. To Ms. Nurfira, time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. I will present my presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. My name is Nurfira Wardayani. I am a student from Sriwijaya University. Today I'm going to present my presentation entitled University Students Self-Regulation in Online Settings, Contributions and Challenges. Here is the table of contents. The first one is introduction, and then followed by methodology, results, and the last is conclusions. So let me start the presentation by the introduction part. Okay. Within a short period of time, COVID-19 has changed all the systems in the world since it was declared as a global pandemic. Education is no exception. During the pandemic, approximately billion of learners have been affected due to this. So on March 24, 2020, the Ministry of Education issued an education policy in which it states the education process on emergency period of COVID-19 is conducted via online as an effort to stop the virus from spreading. So now we have online learning. Online learning undoubtedly has played a crucial role during this pandemic, helping schools and universities facilitate student learning during the closure of the institution. But what is exactly online learning? Online learning, described by Bakia, Shiartoyama, and Lasseter 2012 as instructional environments assisted by the internet. So now, in 2021, everything is conducted via online. But however, despite the fact that many students who are now entering or currently studying in higher educations are familiar with online tools or online learning, their knowledge of it are differ greatly and oftentimes do not match the new skills required at the university. They also have to organize and self-regulate their learning autonomously with little time for preparation from one day to another. So in other words, students must have good self-regulated learning or self-regulation in order to help them assess their online learning. Self-regulation is an important aspect of the learning process. Self-regulation refers to self-generated thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are oriented to attaining goals, according to Zimmerman 2002. The concept of self-regulated learning describes how students adjust their cognitive strategies, metacognition, motivation, and environment consciously. And then the next slide is self-regulation and why it is important in online learning. There are a couple of reasons why self-regulation is important in online learning, especially for university students. The first one is online learning is a new form of education. Students may or may not have experienced online learning prior to this pandemic, so it's still considered as new for most students, which leads to the next reasons, which is the inability to adapt to the new situation. Without the guidance from teachers or lecturers and their willingness to learn on their own, they may struggle to adapt to the new normal. And one of the reasons could be because their lack of skills in using online learning tools, which is understandable because to some students they don't get exposed to the online tools, and before the pandemic there was never a situation in which they have to study online. Another important reason is the physical separation between lecturers and students. For everyone experiencing online learning, they know how different it is compared to traditional face-to-face class. And then the last is university students equal adults. So they are expected to be more responsible and independent than school students. And in addition to all this, according to some experts, self-regulated learning is crucial in online learning because some of the attributes are beneficial to implement in online learning. But despite the many benefits of self-regulation in online learning, research has revealed that self-regulated learning strategies are poorly utilized among undergraduates. So it implies university students still struggle to practice self-regulation despite knowing the advantages it brings. Therefore, my presentation focuses on the contributions and challenges to self-regulating online learning for university students. And for the methodology, I gathered some articles, and in order to be included in the present presentation, the articles had to fit the following criteria, which were devised for the literature review. The first one is the focus of the research had to be on self-regulated learning in higher education and or in online learning. And then the second, research had to be published in between 2008 to 2021. So the result, 15 articles met the selection criteria to give insight about these two themes. So the first one is self-regulated learning contributions in online settings. Overall, the articles agree on one thing, that is self-regulated learning does help and contributes in regulating students' online learning. It is because they have positive perceptions of it. Students have the same thoughts of self-regulated learning. They said that, quote, SRL is a necessity in learning, especially for difficult subjects. And then the next is self-regulated learning strategies do help. They incorporated multiple of self-regulated learning strategies in the process, such as the goal orientation, control of learning beliefs, rehearsal, elaboration, critical thinking, peer learning, and help seeking. And then next is self-regulated learning is found not only affect but also predict students' academic achievement. Motivation, collaboration, self-efficacy, prior knowledge is are are key factors in this. And then the last, self-regulated learning may affect the optimization of online learning environment because SRL is believed to be a critical factor for successful in online learning. And then the next subheading is the challenges to self-regulate in online settings. So perceptions play an important role in everything, and everyone has different perceptions of self-regulated learning. So it is natural for some students to dislike or think that SRL is not important. And with that perceptions in mind, they will not practice SRL that seriously in online learning. And the next is students' relationship with technology slash online learning. Um, the articles highlighted on factors such as unfamiliarity with online learning.
Sorry, miss, you only have 2 minutes left.
Okay. Limited view on technology and lack of knowledge. And then, interestingly, motivation is also mentioned as the challenges, despite being one of the contributions, because students experience low motivation in online learning. And then the fourth is minimal interaction with others, lecturers and students and other students. And then younger versus older. As you can see, younger students need more support in regulating their learning. And then the last is low achieving and high achieving. Low achieving students struggle more than high achieving students. So, in conclusions, all the literature reviewed seems to encourage SRL to be practiced in online learning settings, thus implementing self-regulated learning strategies in online settings with the help of others could really benefit students and also cope with the challenges. Thank you. Moderator?
All right. Well, a very interesting presentation has been delivered by Miss Nurfira. It's time for us to do a question and answer. In the chat room, I see a question from Miss Febi Mutia. With the question, when reviewing the article, did you found the difference between student SRL in online and offline learning? To the presenter, please kindly answer the question.
Okay, thank you for Baby Mutia for the questions. Yes, there are some differences that I found when researching for this presentation. For online learning, of course, like I mentioned before, the lack of interaction between the minimal interaction between lecturers and students and other students is very prominent because like we are experiencing right now. We are here but we're not really here, and students, especially for new students, they may feel awkward to ask the lecturers and then to ask the other students, because they are not built the relationship yet. And yes, that is one of the differences that I found. So in other words, the aspect that is the help seeking and the interaction. I think that is one of the differences that I can say right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Navira, for the answer.
Okay, is there another question? If yes, please raise your hand and turn on your microphone. Yes. If still there's a question, please raise your hand and turn on your microphone. Okay. Okay, if there's no, we should continue. Ladies and gentlemen, presenter and participant of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Ms. Nurfira. Hopefully the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. Many thanks to Ms. Nurfira Wardayani. Okay. Next, let's welcome to the second presenter, Ms. Virus Putri Khalisa. However, I would like to remind you again, you can be active to ask questions in the question and answer session after the material delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, you can submit directly in our chat room with the format name_origin_question. All right, Ms. Virus, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Did you hear my voice?
Yes, it sounds clearly.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Virus Putri Khalisa. I am a graduate student of Sriwijaya University. Today, I'd like to present my topic entitled The Voices of Novice Lecturers During Their Initial Years of Teaching. So, my presentation today consists of introduction, methodology, result, and conclusion. First, introduction. Before I show you the whole presentation, I'd like you to know what novice lecturer is. So this term is defined by Kim and Roth 2011 as a lecturer with less than 5 years of teaching experience. Also, Helms, Sloff, and Canrinus 2011 defined novice lecturer as the employees who just recently got their teacher qualification and had less than 3-year teaching experience. Actually, there are many experts who have defined this term, but I think this one suits my study. And next, why initial years? Initial years, or the beginning years of teaching, are the hardest. Why? Because we are new to the environment of teaching and are faced with the challenges and problems. This statement is supported by Farrell 2003, who stated on his research that initial years of teaching have been marked with confusions, challenges, and tensions. Moreover, Lacey and Gurgis 2017 state that it is undeniable that in the first year of teaching, the novice lecturer may feel stressed, lack appropriate support, and may feel unprepared to handle behavioral and academic issues among their students. Because of the fact that the novice lecturer face the challenges, and even they come with no script for teaching, this study had the purpose to describe the phenomenon of novice lecturer, in which this study synthesized the challenges faced by the novice lecturers, the strategies used by the novice lecturers, and the importance of the training or mentoring for them. The research questions of this study were: what are the challenges faced by the novice lecturers during their initial years of teaching? Second, what are the strategies used by the novice lecturers to cope with the challenges? And the last is, what are the recommendations for the novice lecturers? Okay, now we move on to the methodology. In order to answer the 3 research questions that I mentioned before, this study applied a systematic literature review. Suri 2018 states that a systematic literature review brings together different studies to provide evidence to inform policymaking and planning. The criteria of the article selected for this study were: the focus of the research had to be on the voices of novice lecturers during their initial years of teaching, and the research had to be published in indexed and peer-reviewed international journals between 2012 and 2021. Therefore, 30 articles are selected because those met this criteria. Third is the result. So the result of this study were divided into three based on the research questions, of course. The first was the challenges of the novice lecturers during their initial years of teaching. The second is strategies used by the novice lecturers during their initial years of teaching. And the last is the importance of training or mentoring for novice lecturers. First, the challenges. From the article selected, it was found that the most predominant challenges faced by the novice lecturers were teaching qualities, professional development, research knowledge, and community service and support system. Second findings was the strategies. So it was found that the strategies used to prepare themselves as a lecturer were referring to books, seeking information from course or subject leader, seeking advice from senior lecturers, seeking advice from peers, referring to teaching manual and teacher's guides, referring to sources from the internet, attending workshop or courses, attending seminars, seeking advice from the head of program, reading journals, and seeking advice from the dean or head of center. And this study also found the strategies used to cope with teaching and learning. So the strategies used to cope with teaching and learning were referring to course textbook, discussing with peers teaching the same subject, referring to course files, referring to past tests and exam questions papers, updating and constantly referring to teaching portfolios, using feedback from students, referring to past course assignment, referring to sources from the internet, and reading newspaper or news report or attending talks. Third finding was the importance of training or mentoring. As I mentioned at the beginning, novice lecturers often come with no experience in teaching at a university. That's why many studies recommend them to have the training or mentoring before they teach. Yarif and Sally 2019 state on their study that it is crucial to facilitate these novice lecturers through mentoring so that they can improve their teaching ability, because in their initial years, they are nervous and felt unconfident to teach in front of the class. This argument is true because it was supported by many studies that had proven it. For instance, Khalifa and Rini 2020 conducted a study and found that lesson study activities as the beginning of the continuous professional development process provide many benefits because it increases the confidence of novice lecturers and are also able to improve the quality of learning carried out. And the second was Sumarsono and Mashwood 2019 stated on their study that it is mandatory for higher education institutions to improve the quality of their teaching staff. The target of their study was to improve the novice lecturers' teaching reading ability through the implementation of lesson study, and it was found that it has successfully been improved. And the last was Pam Lin et al. 2020 found that teaching practicum generally
Sorry, Miss, you only have 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Had beneficial impacts on novice lecturers teaching classroom management skills. Okay, after showing you all about the novice lecturers' initial years and the result of their study, it can be concluded that of all insight presented in this paper, it can be concluded that novice lecturers must be given the preparation such as training or mentoring so that they will find it easy to go through their bumpy moments during their initial years. Also, it is crucial for the novice lecturers to read from any kind of sources, including the journals or articles about the challenges and strategy that novice lecturers out there face in their initial years. Because by reading a lot, they can get the insights and will be more well prepared. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. I hand over the microphone to the moderator.
Okay, this is a very interesting presentation has been delivered by Ms. Hairus. Now it's time for us to do a question and answer. So please, for the participant or the audience, if you have a question, please raise your hand and turn on your microphone. Or you can type it out in the text box. Okay. It's already appeared here from Ms. Nurfira Wardayani from Unsri with the question, do you think that only mentoring or training is enough for the novice lecturer to have before they teach in a university? Okay, please, for the presenters to answer the question.
Okay, Ms. Novira, thank you for the questions. I'm going to answer your questions. So you were asking, is it enough for the novice lecturers to have the mentoring only before they teach in a university? So I personally think that, yeah, of course, it's not enough because I think that the novice lecturers also need to have the responsibility to apply those knowledge from the mentoring from the training to their teaching during their initial years. Okay, I think that's my answer. Thank you.
For the answer.
Yes, okay, all right. Is there any still a question? If yes, please raise your hand and turn on your microphone. All right, if there is no question, we should save the time. So we move to the next presenter. Next, let's welcome to the third presenter, Mr. Maldini Rajab Jr. and Mr. Juanda. For Mr. Maldini and Mr. Juanda, time is yours. Yes, do we have Mr. Juanda and Mr. Maldini? Okay. All right, if there's a response, we should move to the next presenter. Next, let's welcome to the Miss Febi Mutia Andani. For Miss Febi, time is yours.
Did you hear my voice? And does my screen appear?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Femi Mutia. I'm a student of Sriwijaya University studying on English Education Study Program. Nice to meet you all virtually. Today, I want to present about an analysis of the challenges in teaching and learning speaking during COVID-19 pandemic. Here's the outline of my presentation. First is introduction, second is methodology, then results and discussion, and the last is conclusion. This is the reason why I'm interested to choose this topic. It all started when Nadiem Makarim, as the Minister of Education and Culture of Indonesia, issued a regulation that schools should conduct online learning for COVID-19 affected areas. After the regulation issued, he continued to state that all educational units have to carry out online learning due to the increasing spread of COVID-19 that can harm the health of students, teachers, and educational staff. Because of that, online learning suddenly became a new challenge for student and teacher. Okay, based on Indonesian Government Regulation number 22, 2013, English is stated as a compulsory subject that has been taught and has been included as one of the subjects that is tested in national final exam in junior and senior high schools. English includes the 4 language skills. They are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. According to Harmer 2007, the skills are divided into 2. There are productive skills and receptive skills. The productive skills are speaking and writing, while the receptive skills are listening and reading. Speaking and writing are productive because learners need to articulate words and write to produce language, while listening and reading are receptive skills because the learners receive the language by listening to conversation, music, and video, and also by reading comprehension, poem, newspaper, poetry, and etc. According to Orwig, 1999, when students learn foreign language, first they should be taught how to speak. Therefore, it means that speaking is one of the important skills in English that should be mastered by students besides writing, reading, and listening. It is such an active skill and one of the ways for students to share their ideas, feelings, and opinions. Mastering speaking skill is the most important aspect of learning a second or foreign language. Because of that reason, speaking skill is believed as the most influential part in language learning because if the student want to master a language, they have to master the speaking skill too. To provide a meaningful communication, one of the skills that students need to master is speaking skill. This paper focuses on how is the teaching and learning speaking during COVID-19 pandemic, what are the challenges, and how to cope with those challenges. Okay, a systematic literature review is used in this paper, which refers to a systematic and explicit accountable method, which brings together different studies to provide evidence to inform policymaking and planning. There are 2 criteria set for article review. Criterion 1, the research had to be focused on online learning challenges during pandemic, teaching and learning speaking challenges during pandemic, and the solution. And then the criterion 2, the research had to be published in between 2020 and till 2021 when the pandemic happened. So I selected 15 articles related to the criteria. Okay, results and discussion. 2 subheadings were made as the results of reviewing the 15 articles, which are the challenges and then the solution. There are many challenges that I found in the articles, but I only want to share those which often appear in the articles. First is internet connection. COVID-19 pandemic suddenly makes teaching and learning activity implementing online, which become a challenge for students and teachers. Online learning is a method of education that takes place over the internet. So that internet connection is really important to do this learning. Problems in the internet really can influence the teaching and learning activities. Then shyness. According to Pratiwi and Prihatini 2020, shyness has a big influence to the students when speaking. It can be because of lack of vocabulary, afraid of making mistakes, and do not know how to pronounce some words. That can lead to the lack of motivation. Some students, when they are unable to cope with their weakness, they tend to be lazy. And some students, when they know their weaknesses, they tend to learn more. Therefore, according to Azhar, Anwar, and Nas 2010, fear of speaking in front of each other has the higher percentage that can influence the performance of the student. And then do not understand the conversation, be another challenge because this is EFL class, so that some student cannot catch the conversation, so they do not know what to speak. And then, so the solution for those challenges are, first, to make the learning and teaching easier. Moreover, in the pandemic.
Conclude, the point is, in this pandemic era or COVID-19, we get more challenges in teaching and learning process, especially for novice lecturer, which is a lecturer with less than 5 years of teaching experience. The challenges, for example, teaching qualities, professional development, research knowledge, and etc. Therefore, we should be master in many strategies, such as seek the information from reliable sources. Once again, I would like to thank to four presenters, Ms. Nurfira Wardayani, Ms. Fairuz Putri Haliza, and Ms. Febi Mutia Andani. For your time, may you always be happy and healthy. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the National Seminar on Language and Literature, or Senabatra, Department of Language and Arts Education at Sriwijaya University. I, Jasmine Ausiazara, will guide this third panel session. Before the presenters present their thoughts, let me introduce a brief profile of the 5 presenters. First is Mr. Mariadi, teacher at Global English Language Center, Mrs. Putri Ewani, and Mrs. Rana Tanita Putri, teacher at SMA PGRI 2 Palembang from Master Program of Sriwijaya University, with the title of presentation, The Pedagogy in Online Learning, Challenges and Opportunities. The second is Mrs. Armilia Sari from Sriwijaya University, with the title of presentation, Workshop on Creating Presentation Video of Teaching Materials with Presenter Space by using the newest version of Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 for teachers at SMA Sriwijaya Negara to simplify learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the third is Mr. Hansen Ismawan from Sriwijaya University with the title of presentation, The Impact of COVID-19 Pandemic on Drama Performances in Classroom, Lecturers, Students, Collaboration in Preparing Virtual Drama Performance at Literature in ELT Classroom. And then the fourth is Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina from SMP 14 Oku and Mrs. Rita Indrawati from Sriwijaya University with the title of presentation, Designing Narrative Writing, Teaching Materials for Vocational High School Students. And then the fifth is Mrs. Yani Anggraini from SDIT Raudatul Jannah, Lubuk Linggau, and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmainah from Sekolah Alam Palembang with the title of presentation, Students' Investment in Learning English. All right, there was a brief profile of our 5 speakers in this parallel 3 session. Each presenter will present the results of their thoughts for 10 minutes, followed by a question and answer session for 5 minutes. I hope that you can be active in asking questions in the question and answer session after the material delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, you can submit them directly in our chat room in the format of name_origin_question and submit it when the presenter delivers his or her paper. All right, I'll invite the first presenter, Mr. Mariadi, Mrs. Putri Ewani, and Mrs. Rana Taneta Putri. To Mr. Mariadi, Mrs. Putri Ewani, and Mrs. Rana Taneta Putri, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the chance. I'm Rana Taneta Putri, and my partner Maradi and Putri Erwani will be presented about the pedagogy in online learning, challenges and opportunities. Next. Okay, now we focus on 3. The first one is technology integration in online learning, and then the second one is classroom interaction in online learning, and then the last one is assessment in online learning, and the last is recommendation. Well, here are our introductions. As in many countries worldwide, as an effect of the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, almost the schools closed in March 2020, and teachers should confront with the need to adapt to online teaching and learning process. And online learning is the use of internet and some other important technologies to develop materials for educational purposes, instructional delivery, and management of program. Next slide, please. Okay, technology provides unlimited resources for language teaching and learning process. It is according to Bull and Ma 2001. And furthermore, through using technology, students can access many information that they cannot find in lecture. So that to facilitate instructor in English online teaching and learning process is technology. Furthermore, technology integration means how teachers use technology to make the activity in classroom more effective. Next slide, please. Although the technology could facilitate in online teaching and learning, the readiness of using it should be prepared. Teachers need to acquire basic technology skills, know and how to use technology according to Zebel 2013. And if the teachers do not acquire those criteria, teachers will have problems in using ICT effectively in the classroom. Next slide, please. So, the difficulties of integrating technology into teaching and learning process known as barriers. And a barrier means as the situation that makes it difficult to make process or to achieve something. And due to unfamiliar of using technology, lecturers and students have difficulties using that technology. Next slide, please. So here, they are divided into 2, the barriers of technology integration. The first one is extrinsic, and then the second one is intrinsic. Extrinsic barriers, according to Edmer 1999, extrinsic barriers divided into time, support, resources, and training. And then, however, in intrinsic, there are divided into 3. The first is trust, exercise, and then resistance. And For extrinsic barriers related to the organizations or group rather than individual. Meanwhile, for intrinsic barriers related to the teachers and also administrators. So, but the most important is lecturers need guidance and counseling in applying the technology to transfer the knowledge in the classroom so that when technology is used appropriately, it can bring about a lot of advantages to teachers and also the learners. Okay, the next material will be presented by my presenters by the for Putri Arwani. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for Anataneta Putri. I will continue about the material. So, related to the online learning, interaction is a key. Interaction is a key component of fostering learning. Interaction plays a significant role to foster usability and quality in effective online activities. It will help online teaching and learning process run smoothly. And classroom interaction and classroom activities will be productive class when the teacher interacts with the with each other in groups, in pairs, as individuals, or as a class. Students work with materials or and attempt the task once again individually, in groups, and so on. Next slide, please. So, if we talk about the classroom interaction, there are three kinds of classroom interaction. Moore, 1989, proposed firstly about the classroom interaction pattern. It divided into three. First is student-student interaction, the second is student-teacher interaction, and the last is student-content interaction. Student-student interaction refers to interaction among individual students or among students working in a small groups. Student-student interaction could be synchronous, as in a video conferencing and chatting, in asynchronous, as in discussion boards or email messaging. For the second, student-teacher interaction, it focuses on the dialogue between student and the instructor or teacher. The instructor will stimulate and maintain the student's interest in what is to be taught in the online learning, to motivate the student to learn, to enhance and maintain the learner's interest, including self-direction and self-motivation. And the last is student content interaction. In student content interaction, it refers to students interacting with the subject matter under study to construct meaning related to the personal knowledge and apply it problem solving. So, student content interaction is the process of intellectually interacting with the content that results in changes in the learner's understanding. Next slide, please. So when due to the online learning, due to pandemic, so it makes the students, also the teachers, face difficulties when they do interaction in online learning. Firstly is reduced quality of education, increase the faculty training costs about the implementation and interaction activities during online learning, and lack of for all subject content, potentially reduce student or professor interaction, making many learners are be passive and like to participate, to contribute or to communication in online learning. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, madam, you only have 2 minutes left.
Okay. The last is in order to making the good online teaching and interaction, teachers must pay attention to the language, identify the ways, and must thinking about what the teacher will say. And teacher not only present the material, but also introducing the students about the creative new learning methods. Okay, I think that's all. For the next material will be explained by the next presenter. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the chance. I'm going to continue the presentations related to assessment in online learning. So there are 3 definitions on the slide related to online assessments. So there are 2 experts and also 1 scholars. And in conclusions from those 3 definitions, that online assessment refers to any evaluations or any examinations, okay, that take place in online setting. And then there are some potential opportunities of online assessments reported by some scholars, and we totally already categorize those opportunities into 4 categories. The first is about efficiency. So it is practical or flexible, so we can do whenever and wherever we can. And then it is economical and ecological because it paperless and also cost effective. And the last is auto marking. And the next is online assessment is considered as effective because it can create interactive between teachers and between teacher and students and content. And it will give a good quality feedback where teachers can give immediate and also detailed feedback to the students. And moreover, the online assessment also use the CBT, computer-based test. Therefore, it is considered as valid and reliable. And the next is about authenticity. So it access and also let the students and also teachers experience the real world situations. So in the real world situations, students can also apply 21st century demands where the students and also teachers apply, or I mean like use the technology. And the last is about engagements. In these engagements, any kinds of assessment in online, so it can create multimodal formats. I mean that the students can do the assessments in any kinds of formats, either for verbal or non-verbal. And it is also involved in the virtual world where students can do self and also field regulated learning. Besides opportunities, there are 3 main challenges
but your
of
time
online
is
assessment.
Thank you. Time's up.
Pardon?
Sorry, your time is up. Yeah. Well, a very interesting presentation has been delivered by Mr. Mariadi, Mrs. Putriawani, and Mrs. Rana Tanita Putri. It's time for us to do a question and answer session. For anyone, for the participants who wants to ask a question, please, you can submit the question directly in our chat room or turn on your microphone. Okay, in the chat box, I see a question from Mrs. Yani Anggraini. During the implementation of online learning, what the most common online tasks used by teachers? For the presenters, you can answer the question.
Okay, thank you very much for the moderator and also the question from Miss Yani. It's a very good question. So from reviewing some articles, actually there are some or most common online tasks used by teachers, either in higher educations and not. Okay, the first is about multiple choice tasks, and the second is essays, and the next is about true or false, and the last is mostly the teachers use online quizzes for the students during the implementations of online learning, especially in pandemic era. Maybe that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mariadi, for the good answer. If there's anyone who wants to ask another question, you are welcome to submit the question in the chat box or turn on your microphone. Is there any more question? Okay, if there is no more question, I will close the question and answer session. Ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mr. Mariadi, Mrs. Putriawani, and Mrs. Rana Tanita Putri. Hopefully the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. My thanks to Mr. Mariadi, Mrs. Putriawani, and Mrs. Katrana Tanita Putri. Next, let's welcome the second presenter, Mrs. Amelia Sari. However, I would like to remind you again, you can be active to ask questions in the question and answer session after the material delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, you can submit directly in our chat room with the format name _origin _question. Unfortunately, Mrs. Armila Sari is unable to join us in person. So I will play her presentation video for the participant who have questions. You can submit it in our chat room, and later I will deliver the question to Mrs. Armila Sari.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the chance that has given to me. My name is Armilia Sari, and today I would like to present my paper entitled Workshop on Creating Presentation Video of Teaching Materials with Presenter Space by using the newest version of Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 for teachers at SMA Srijaya Negara to simplify learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, I start my presentation with a background. As we know, the COVID-19 has infected the world for almost 2 years. And in the middle of March 2020, the World Health Organization had announced the COVID-19 as a global pandemic. Since that, Indonesian government closed all the schools and changed the education system into online learning. So the teaching and learning activities are doing from home. So that's why the teachers are required to design virtual teaching materials. And based on the problem, the lectures of Indonesian and Literature Education Study Program, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, decided to conduct community service at school. Our team consisted of 4 lecturers and 8 students. We did this workshop at SMA Srijaya Negara, where the participants of this community service were 25 teachers of SMA Srijaya Negara. During the workshop, we shared our knowledge about Microsoft Office 2019. Ibu Dr. Latifah Ratnawati Empum presented the introduction to Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 and a comparison of its advantages with previous ones such as Microsoft PowerPoint 20 and 3, Microsoft PowerPoint 20 and 7, Microsoft PowerPoint 20 and 10, Microsoft PowerPoint 2013, and Microsoft PowerPoint 2016. In the previous version of Microsoft PowerPoint, the teachers could only record the voice. Meanwhile, in the Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 version, the teachers could also record the videos. Next, Ibu Sri Utami presented how to install Microsoft Office 2019. We should uninstall the previous version of Microsoft Office first on our laptop or our computer, and then we download and install the ISO installer Office 2019. And next, Ibu Armilia MPD presented how to create teaching material videos with presenter space by using Microsoft PowerPoint 2019. To make the teaching material video using Microsoft PowerPoint 2019, we should open file of teaching materials that we have made in Microsoft PowerPoint, and then we click File, we click Export, we click Create Video, we click Record and Timing Narration, and then we start recording a presentation video. When we have finished recording the presentation video, click File, click Save As, and click the folder where we want to save the recorded video. We choose MPEG for video format, and then we click Save. The process of converting files into video will take about 5 minutes. And our video is ready. And this is the picture when our team helped the teachers to install Microsoft Office 2019. And then they tried to record their presentation using Microsoft PowerPoint 2019. After recording their presentation, the teachers presented their videos one by one in front of the class. Meanwhile, the other participants gave the comments and suggestions. And here are some screenshots of teaching material videos that were made by teachers of SMA Srijaya Negara. We can see their faces on the screenshot, just like you see. Okay. I will show you a video from one of the teachers of SMA Srijaya Negara. This is a teaching material video that was made by Ibu Indah Islami Putri SPD. She is a teacher of physics and she made a teaching material video about direct current circuit, or in Bahasa Indonesia, rangkaian arus searah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi anak-anak. Sebelum kita memulai pembelajaran pada hari ini, kita berdoa menurut agama dan kepercayaan masing-masing. Berdoa mulai. Berdoa selesai. Oke, pada hari ini kita akan mempelajari mengenai rangkaian arus searah. Nah, rangkaian arus searah itu disebut juga dengan listrik dinamis. Kalau kalian masih ingat, dinamis artinya bergerak. Jadi,
and this is our last picture at SMA Srijaya Negara. That is all my presentation. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right, thus it is a very interesting presentation has been delivered by Mrs. Amelia Sari. For all participants, the participants who wants to who have a question for Mrs. Amelia Sari's presentation, you can type it in the chat box. Ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mrs. Amelia Sari. Hopefully the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. Thanks to Mrs. Amelia Sari. Next, let's welcome the third presenter, Mr. Hansen Ismawan. Dear Mr. Hansen Ismawan, time is yours. To Mr. Hansen Ismawan, do we have Mr. Hansen Ismawan? Okay, because there is no response, we will move to the next presenter. Next, let's welcome the fourth speaker, Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina and Mrs. Rita Indrawati. Dear Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina and Mrs. Rita Indrawati, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to present our paper here. With the title is Designing Narrative Writing, Teaching Materials for Vocational Students. So there are 4 elements here. From the first one is introduction, theory, methodology, and conclusions. The beginning with research problem. there are two questions here. Why do we need to develop narrative writing teaching materials for vocational students? And then how to develop narrative writing teaching materials for vocational students? As we know that vocational I'm so sorry. Wait. As we know that vocational student is vocational high school is a type of secondary education in which the specification is preparing the student to work in certain field soon after they graduate. It is stated by Ministry Education Regulation of Indonesia. This is also in line with one of the 21st century learning focuses, that is the development and the career skills. Therefore, the aim of teaching in English vocational high school should focus on preparing the student to have specific skills by having practical activities based on their study program, so they can prepare themselves with good skills in order to complete later the workplace. In here, there are so many factors that can make the success education in vocational high school. As we know that educators, students, infrastructure, methods, media, learning environment, and teaching materials become point that important to develop to make the study is success. We can see here, this is the book, guiding book from the vocational high school. Teaching materials in the context of learning are the most important components, because with teaching materials, students can learn and master a competency in a coherent and systematic manner. So as we know that the book is used by the student is too general or same with another senior high school. All right. Writing, as we know, writing is one of the skill in English which must be improved. Learning to write, furthermore, learning to write is a content in the education unit level curriculum in vocational school. And I narrated here why there are three factors why student must focusing learning narrative here. The first one is it can be stimulate their imagination, and then it can clarify their thinking, and also it can help them to search for identify. Wait. I got the problem with my laptop. Oh my God. I will share it. Okay, now can you hear me, guys?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, now we are going to the theory. Theory here focus on the teaching materials. So module is one of a form of teaching materials that contains a series of learning activities in a material that is packaged systematically and effectively, so that it's easy for students to learn independently. And then characteristics of the module here. There are 6 characteristics of the module. I'm sorry, I cannot show the PPT, so I continue with the explanation. There are 6 characteristic module here. The first one is self-instructional. The second one is self-contained. The third one is standalone. And then the fourth one, the module must be adaptive. The fifth one, the module must be user-friendly. And the sixth one is the consistency. And then after we know the characteristics of the module, we can develop the module with the step here. The first one, module need analysis. And then after we can find the analysis, we can prepare of many manuscripts or module draft. And then after that, we can do the module test. After do the module test, we can take the validation of the expert. And then after that, the final step of this, we can revise the module. Okay, for the methodology is about R&D, as we know that R&D is really related to the development here. R&D is the systematic of the study, which is designing, developing, and evaluating instructional program, process, and product that must meet criteria of the internal consistency and effectiveness. So the conclusion here, with the module, by developing the materials, by developing teacher materials, it is expected that student in vocational high school will have the guiding book or the teaching material which are specific for their study program. And then if the teaching material related with their program, it can make them easier to be successful in the industrial field. That's all about my presentation. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina, for the presentation. We will move to the question and answer session. In the chat box, I see a question from Mr. Mariadi from Global English Language Center. Why is the need analysis important when developing the material? For Mrs. Yulitsi, and answer the question.
Yeah, it is really important because when we want to develop teaching materials, we have to know the needs analysis for that case, because it can help us easier to know what is the student's needs, so that we can make their needs. Mr. Mariadi?
Yes, I got the point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we can make the teachers easy to analyze.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mariadi, for the question, and thank you for Mrs. Yulitsi for the answer. I see another question from Mrs. Masayu Leli from Sekolah Alam. The question is, what are the challenges in development? Okay. Mrs. Yulitsi, you can answer the question.
Yeah. The challenges of this, the common problem that sometimes coming with this challenges here, lack of knowledge, for example, and then we are getting lack of supervision time, and also confusing in selecting teaching media. That's it, Mas Ayu Leli.
Thank you, Yulitsi, for the answer.
You're welcome.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina and Mrs. Rita Indrawati. Hopefully, the knowledge conveyed is useful for all of us. My big thanks to Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina and Mrs. Rita Indrawati. We're going to go back to the previous speakers. Mr. Hansen Ismawan. Is Mr. Hansen Ismawan here?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, let's welcome the speaker, Mr. Hansen Ismawan. Time is yours.
You can see my PPT.
Yes.
Okay, I got a title for my presentation here. The impact of the coronavirus disease or COVID-19 pandemic on drama performance. Just before we go to the discussion, I would like to evoke the memory of the participant here that each of us has received drama lessons, whether academic or not. Those experience, it will understand about interactions, motivations, feelings, togetherness, desires, and everything that happens consciously or not in the drama process itself. This statement will lead to participant agreement that drama learning is not only about delivering material, but also about all the goals to be achieved and all the problems to be solved from entering drama class to realizing the drama performance. And then let's go into the discussion. So here I mentioned the introduction about drama. We agree that drama needs to be explicit in its own right and can also be used as a tool for understanding subject across the curriculum. And then drama also provides many opportunities for students to use heritage languages and knowledge of a range of cultures to experiment with styles of speaking and gesture and also mime. Using drama in the classroom as a teaching tool has been shown in numerous studies to assist students learn academically, socially, and developmentally. And then drama is an important tool for educators in its aid in the development of all aspects of literacy. And this is the problem. In December 2019, the coronavirus disease or COVID-19 was originally recognized as a pneumonia of unknown origin in Wuhan, Hubei province, China. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, many universities and colleges around the world have restored to online learning. Here's the problem. The problem is what impact occurs during the coronavirus pandemic on drama performance in classroom. And then the researchers also use a qualitative research with observations and interview approach for collecting the data and interpret the data, and also the researcher just describe what happened and what the impacts of the coronavirus on the performed drama in the classroom. Here's the research. The researcher found that in the terms of study were several impacts of the drama pandemic on the drama performance in classroom. The first is drama goes online. As we know that everything in education is going online, and also the drama. The performance of the drama was going online, so the result of the practicing and all the process of making drama is present in platform online such as YouTube, Zoom, and so on. The process of preparing drama here, as the writer found that so many problems that can be explained in the research. In preparing drama, start from choosing the ideas or the title of drama. The student cannot take it on the classroom because the process of learning drama in classroom is forbidden by the government because of the spread out of the pandemic COVID-19. So the process of choosing the title is going online by using WhatsApp group and also the platform online for learning online. And then the process of writing script, the student also needs to understand about the using of the online platform learning because it can be done in the classroom because the pandemic also. And the important one is about practicing. In here, the practicing drama, as usual, as traditional way, we can practice with classmate or our friends in the classroom as traditional way. And then because of pandemic COVID-19, practicing drama is by ourselves and it's done in our house or our home by using so much tools such as smartphone and also camera and the software for recording our presentation for practicing. And then the process of perform the drama, we also do editing and so on. So it can be concluded that the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the drama performance in classroom very differs. Finally, we must say that literature lecture and can be creative, similarly, but always according to the needs of the group they teach. That's all for my part. Thank you very much. Back to moderator.
Okay. Thus, it is a very interesting presentation. It's been delivered by Mr. Hansen Ismawan. It's time for us to do a question and answer session. In the chat box, I see a comment from Mrs. Ida Rosmalina for Mr. Hansen. Firstly, the title suggests that drama performances in the classroom is done regularly. Please explain in what context or class it can use it. You can say that. Then, in what way drama can be used as a tool for understanding subjects cross curriculum? Thanks. For Mr. Hansen Ismawan, you can answer the comment and the question.
Okay, thank you very much for the comment. So here I mentioned from Martin 2013, drama and performing arts lectures particularly embodies social and national aspect of learning when it's moved online. This dimension of learning, which are sometimes called non-academical outcomes, or Wiley 2015, or its social and psychological outcomes. And then Jacob 2016, this aspect of the learning experience, the invisible of education, increasingly comes to the fore during coronavirus disease times, and were equally that drama lectures miss work to maintain and were concerned about for their students. Furthermore, Jacob 2016 stated that studying in drama is creative and dynamic, using response to trajectory learning. As with other subject areas, drama is included in most school curricula in accordance with curriculum policies and procedures, including those related to assessment and certifications. I think that's my answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hansen, for the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, speakers and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mr. Hansen Ismawan. My thanks to Mr. Hansen Ismawan. And then we move to the last speaker. Next, let's welcome the fifth presenter, Mrs. Yeni Anggraini and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmaina. Dear Mrs. Yeni Anggraini and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmaina, time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Um, Today we are going to present our presentation with the title Student Investment in Learning English. And in this presentation, my partner is Mas Ayureli Mutmaina. Okay, next slide, please. In this presentation or in this article, we have two purposes. The first is what are the factors that contribute students to invest in learning English? And the second one, how the community influence students' investment in learning English. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, for the agendas of this
I'm sorry, Mrs. Yani Anggraini. We cannot hear you. You are currently lagging.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
Mrs. Yani Anggraini, you were cut off.
Yes, sorry. I continue. Next slide, please. An introduction. Okay. Actually, the notion of investment was first introduced by Norton in 1995. Actually, English is compulsory subject at high school to university level in Indonesia. The role of English in the academic field has a major impact on the quality of human resources. The student must realize the importance of English in this era. Therefore, in order to meet the demands of English proficiency, the students are starting to invest in learning English. And the main focus of this article is why the student invest in learning English, mostly because they want to gain a greater capital. As Norton in 1995 stated that economic or material and symbolic or non-material are the main reasons why the student invest in learning English. Okay, for the next slide, it's about
Okay. Mana suara Mbak Di?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Yani Anggraini. You are currently lagging. Yeah. Maybe Mrs. Mas Ayu can continue the presentation.
Okay. Thanks, Yani. I will continue our presentation. It's about students' investment in learning English. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Yani. I will continue our presentation is about student investment in learning English. Now, I will explain about literature review. For the first, I will explain about the notions of investment. The notions of investment was first introduced by Norton 1995. She has mentioned that investment conceived language learner having a complex history and multiple desire. Norton 1995, page 12, stated that the theory of social identity based on her data plays a crucial role in social interactions between language learner and target language speaker. Inspired from Baudio work, 1977, 1984, 1991, she concluded that instead of using motivations, she argued that the conceptions of investment are suitable to address the complex and ever-changing social world. The construct of investment recognized that the differences involved in learning context put the learner in an unequal position, in which leading to the varying learning outcomes. The understanding of investment are closely connected with language learners progressing social identity, positioning the language learner as someone that having a complex social identity and multiple desire. Okay, we can see from the slide, there is a pictures about the model of investment. According to a Norton investment divided into three components. The first, identity, the second, ideology, and the third is capital. Identity, ideology, and the capital, they are related one to another.
The model of investment is located at the intersections of identity, capital, and ideology. Darwin and Norton model for trace how relations of power course through and support every component and how these components collaborate in an unpredictable way to characterize a learner's interest in the objective of learning the target language. Okay, move to the next slide, please. Okay, let's see one by one. First is about the capital and investment. In relations of capital and investment, language learner invest in language knowing that it may aid them to gain greater resources that will increase their the value of learners' social and cultural capital. This is according to the Norvin and Norton 2015. Learners' social and cultural capital value can be affected by an equal learner context that lead the differences in learning outcomes. According to Bourdieu, 1986, the period of time for which a given individual can follow his acquisition process depends on how his family can provide him with a free economic necessity. Okay, in capital years means that the learner invests in learning English because they have the capital in their life, in their cultural and the social value. Capital here can be divided into two, material and non-material. Material, the capital. Material capital is like the salary that they get before they invest in the language, and the non-material here they can get the symbolic, like the education degree. And after before that, they can get non-material in their social and their cultural value. Okay, please move to the next slide. Okay, next slide is about the ideology and the language learner investment. Ideology moves through language. It appears from the structures of language that assume to be the structures of the society that embodies a certain ideology. For example, Althusser 1970 stated that ideology appears.
Madam, I'm sorry, you only have 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Okay. The ideology appears in the structures of the society and arise the actual practice carried out by various institutions in the society. Okay, next to the next slide. Okay, now we move to the how investment and motivation are related. Investments show the context or purpose of a person to learn, whereas the motivation was about the intensity that encourages students to learn. Motivations comes from the internal factors of the learners, such as their emotional, psychological. It means that those who are oriented toward learning a language for cultural purposes, and those who are oriented toward learning a language for career or academic purposes. Okay, in here, investment and motivation, like Mr. Terence said, that the learner maybe have a high motivation, but they didn't invest in the language learner. For example, she had mentioned that for his students, his student maybe high motivation. He can speak English, but there is no chance for the students to apply in the community. Okay, for the next material will continue by Yeni.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Masayo and Mrs. Yani, your time is up.
Yeah, pardon me, but I have to read the conclusion of this paper. Maybe just I just go directly to the conclusion.
Okay.
To the conclusion. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Conclusion. Okay. Actually, as just I explained before that we have two purposes of this paper of this article. The first is the factors that influence the student invest in learning English. There are 5 factors here. The first is the satisfactory job. I mean, like the students want to get the satisfactory job, and then the students want to get good grades in English, in academics, and then the demands of their jobs, and the influence of globalization, and the last is they want to continue their studies abroad. However, the influence of the community in which the participants socialize has an impact on their investment in learning English. This can be seen from the role of people close to them. The biggest influence comes from their parents' support for their investment in English learning. The support from the parents in form of the material and also non-material. And the example is has been explained by Mbak Masayuleli in the previous. Okay, apart from the influence of their parents, it was the students, friends, and inspiring figures that influenced the students to engage in learning the English language. Their friends often ask the students to practice their English language skills, particularly while speaking. Those inspiring figures are native speakers who are fluent in English, such as their teachers and public figures. Okay, I think that's all from us. Back to moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Masayu and Mrs. Yani Anggraini. Thus, it is a very interesting presentation has been delivered by Mrs. Yani Anggraini and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmainah. Now it's time for us to do the question and answer session. In the chat box, I see question from Mrs. Putri Erwani. What are the problems that faced by students to invest in learning English? This would be the only question in this session. Presenters, you only have 3 minutes to answer the question.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I will try to answer the questions. What are the problems that faced by students who invest in learning English? Okay, actually, the problems that often appears is from the capital. I give an example like sometimes the students had been a high motivations to invest to invest in learning English, but their capital does not support it. I mean, like maybe they have not material. I mean, like yes, they have no material to invest in learning English. So I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Yani Anggrani, for the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, presenters and participants of Senabatra, that's the presentation from Mrs. Yani Anggrani and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmainah. My thanks to Mrs. Yani Anggrani and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmainah. All right, Senabatra participants, that was the presentation of the 5 materials that have been delivered, as well as the question and answers that have taken place. Thanks again to our presenter for the time and presentation that has been given to us all this afternoon. Hopefully what has been conveyed by our speakers is useful for all of us. If I may conclude, the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted many aspects in life, like drama performance in classroom and online learning. Even though there are challenges in online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, regarding technology integration, class interaction, and assessment, there are still opportunities in this pandemic, for example, regarding efficiency, effectiveness, authenticity, and engagement aspects. Teachers are suggested to develop learning materials and strategies and tools, for example, using narrative writing learning material module, Microsoft PowerPoint 2019, and drama performance. This development and hopefully can increase and maintain students' investment in learning English. Once again, I would like to thank the presenters, Mr. Mariadi, Mrs. Putri Erwani, Mrs. Rana Taneta Putri, Mrs. Armila Sari, Mr. Hansen Ismawan, Mrs. Rita Indrawati, Mrs. Yulitsi Oktarina, Mrs. Yani Anggraini, and Mrs. Masayu Leli Mutmainah for your time. May you always be happy and healthy. All speakers and participants are welcome to return to the main Zoom room. I will close the third parallel session today. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, back to the main room, please. Jasmine, ask them to go to the main room now.
Participant, you can